can roll.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. Honored guest is in our usual language, and viewers at home. It is Tuesday, May 15th. We are here at Golden Speakers Toastmasters. We meet every Tuesday evening. Two guests, guest and guest. Pardon me. We meet every Tuesday evening at 7:45 to 9:15. If you come just several minutes earlier, we can chat with you. And we're at the west side of the Hy-Vee store in the club room, and we're at the end of the ice cream aisle. And that's usually enough to get everybody clear on where we are. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. Can I have an applause for our mission? All right. Before we get started, we always like to hear from our guests. Just a quick what brought them here, and I know we have people actually have been here maybe once or twice, gaps, whatever. So why don't we start with you, just a quick, what brought you to Toastmasters and why are you coming back? And you can stand just to let the blood rush.
Okay, well, my name is Philip Oswald, and actually
volume, these guys.
I heard about Toastmasters from a classmate who was big in Toastmasters now in Poland. And then many years later, I hear that my friend, 25 years, Fraser here, has also joined Toastmasters. And I thought that it was about time that I looked into it, given that my career actually demanded that I had speaking skills. So.
Good. So we're glad you're here, Philip. Clap, 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 clap.
I need to weigh out the ship here.
Okay, we have some arrivals. You guys are set? Okay, seated. All right. So let me just say once again, this hand is getting better, but I'm still I'm doing the one-handed clap. It's actually a twist. It goes like this, and I'm also going to say clap, 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 and you guys clap. Okay, just so we know what's happening there. All right, good. And then we have our second guest.
Ingrid Bianco.
Okay.
I've been here once before, and today is Sister Janet, and she invited me again. I'm thinking one day that I would like to be part of the club. This is my life a little bit busy at the moment, but I will come back.
Very good. Well, thank you. I remember you coming, and I think you were getting ready to travel and go somewhere and just. Yeah.
It's been a lot of changes.
Okay. Well, we like to hear stories from people that are out and about, so we'd love to have you come in and tell us about you and work on your skills, and then if you head off again, you're that much more better, or you're that much better prepared to communicate wherever you're going. Okay. Let's see. I think we're good with our guests. So with this, I'm going to go ahead and invite up our Toastmaster for the evening, Emery Styron.
Okay, I'll be your Toastmaster, which is really kind of an MC for tonight. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, good to see Miranda and Prana back among us. First order of business is to introduce the role players. We'll start with our timer, Dee Stoffer. Will you stand and tell us what you'll be doing, Dee?
So the different speeches have a time to them, so it's 4 minutes. The red light comes on, and it's 5 minutes, then 6 minutes. And the lights will be up here, and you'll see the light come on and off. Okay? So when the red light comes on, it's time to finish.
Okay. On the prepared speech, the green light comes on at,
4 minutes, or 5 minutes.
This,
And the
this one right now, this one.
and the yellow light
yellow
at,
light comes on no, so the green comes on at 4, the yellow comes on at 5, and the red light comes on.
okay. According to the agenda.
See the agenda? The agenda.
I'm looking at the timers report.
Look at the speech that you have tonight. See Veda?
Veda, or is Veda?
Just look over to the right. You
Yeah,
see
so
the
it's
slide?
5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
Yeah, 5, 6, and 7, all right.
All right. Thank you. Grammarian will be Art Atkinson. He's going to be late, but he'll be here. He did call in his word of the day, which I'll read. It's versatile. Able to adapt or be adapted to many different functions. Very apropos for our club. In a small Toastmasters club, each member must be versatile. Okay? So let's hear it for the substitute grammarian. And the awe counter will be me, and I'll be tracking uhs, ahs, ums, likes, you know, so, but, and, tongue clicks, Xeroxes, false starts. I'm usually the worst offender, but I bet I don't get a big tally tonight. And we'll hear from our general evaluator and greeter junk master, the one the same Peter later in the meeting. We would normally move into our prepared speech portion of the meeting at this time, but we're told Veda is coming, but he's not here yet, and he's our only prepared speaker. So would it be possible to flip things and have the table topics? Whoa, wait a minute.
Just when we're, yeah.
It's like something out of the cinema.
Yeah.
In the nick of time. All right, in that case, let's have Fraser come up. Where's Fraser? And introduce our speaker as soon as Fraser's ready and able. Okay, let's welcome our first evaluator, Fraser, who will introduce Veda. Welcome, Fraser.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. Our first speaker tonight, or only speaker in fact, is Veda Royal. He's a massage therapist, and he's a Fairfield resident since 1990. And tonight he'll be giving his second speech, the second project in the competent community.
First, sorry, it's an icebreaker.
All right, so the timer is icebreaker.
4 to 6 minutes.
So,
4 to 6 minutes.
so tonight he'll be giving the first speech in the competent communication manual, the icebreaker, and the objectives of this speech is to begin speaking before an audience, to discover speaking skills you already have and skills that need some attention. And the time is 4 to 6 minutes. And the topic for his tonight will be about massage therapy. Please welcome Veda Royal, LMT.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, any guests I don't know about, viewers at home. Tonight is my long-awaited icebreaker. Now, I don't want to break too much ice, and I've been thinking about this project literally for months, because no one wants to really talk about themselves. There's a deep look that we have to take it ourselves. So I'm going to go a little bit more shallower with a few deeper dives. I'm talking about massage therapy. And for those of you who may not know, massage therapy is the healing art of laying the hands on a person's body for the purpose of healing them. There could be some manipulation, some strokes, and there's various types. Types that I practice are Swedish massage, which is you drape the body with a sheet so you don't expose anything embarrassing, and you manipulate tissues with oil. And I also do chair massage, which is a completely clothed technique. And the clothed technique of chair massage is what I naturally started doing spontaneously when I was much younger in my life, and I didn't know what I was really onto. But it seemed to go back to something that was in my early childhood. When I was, say, about 4 years old, I started to realize there was something that you might call awareness. I didn't realize there was some content with the awareness. And later, when I was 13, I started Transcendental Meditation, which gave me the knowledge that there is something called awareness without content. But something had already been happening, and I had started noticing that in that unbounded, empty awareness, there seemed to be like some type of flow or currents. And I could feel them. I could feel them with my hands. But I had no idea about touching. And I had no idea about massage therapy because it was the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s. And that just wasn't known. But my parents were very technical. And I grew up in a small town about 10 miles north of Boston. And my father was an electrical engineer and a professor. And my mother was a computer programmer, one of the earliest ones. It was all technical. So I went into the only thing I knew, working with my hands, and I got an electrical engineering degree, and I ended up opening up a shop in the 1990s, repairing electronics. Some of the people even in the audience knew me when I was doing that work. Some of my favorite people in the audience met me then. But I hadn't quite broken out of my shell because I was just working with, you might call them cold hard machines. And in about 1999, I had a therapist teach me what would now be called myofascial therapy. And it was so simple. It was just astounding. The principle was that the body is like a sheet that has wrinkles, and all you have to do is put your hands on the sheet and smooth them out. I use this technique to this day. It's just amazing. Anything in the body, I just put my hands on and that will relax and release. But something else more amazing was revealed to me at that time. I put my hand on a friend's body and I found that there seemed to be this X-ray picture into the body where, say I put a hand on a shoulder, I could see what was going on in the hip. The tension in the body is a grid, and the grid gets distorted, and you can feel and manipulate anywhere in the body to manipulate and heal anywhere else in the body. Something vastly beyond what I could even talk about happened in the year 2000 to me. I went through this very odd transition. I would call it a near-death-like experience. It was so explosive, I could barely function. The light went into my head. I was hospitalized. it's more than I can express. But when I was coming out of that experience, I found that if I put my hands on someone, there seemed to be that energy flowing through them. I found new healing energy. That combined with my earlier techniques of smoothing the sheet, X-ray vision, made me a natural for massage therapy, but I didn't even know what massage therapy was. A friend of mine gave me a massage, who was a massage therapist, and said, and we traded. I don't know why, I didn't have any experience. And she said, that was the best massage. People have been massaging me, you know, for 15, 20 years. That's better than some of those people. So I went to school at Guiding Light School of Massage Therapy, and I got my license in massage therapy about 5 years ago. And I've been practicing somewhat with friends, somewhat with family, a few clients now that I'm in a spa downtown. I've brought my cards with me, so anyone who wants to experience a chair massage, can get my card, and I've been offering a few minutes free, maybe 10 minutes free, and even with 10 minutes I can do amazing healing. So I hope you'll join me and allow me to practice my art in Fairfield and start to make a career out of it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Veda. Very interesting. Mr. Timer, could you set aside 2 minutes for people to fill out their comment sheets? And Mr. Timer, did our speaker qualify?
Yes.
Okay, he did qualify. Yeah. We'll get his time a little later. All right, we will not need to vote for our best speaker since we have just the one. We will now move into the evaluation section of the meeting, and to take over for that, I'd like to call up our general evaluator, Mr. Peter Armstrong. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Rudy.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home, in this section of the meeting, we will hear from the evaluator, Veda's evaluator, Fraser Jones.
Good evening once more. And Veda's speech, I would say all of us, it was very informative and things we really wanted to hear. So first I'll go through the manual. And the first thing is, what strong points does the speaker already have? But he had his facts mashed together and he was able to deliver it clearly. How well did the audience get to know the speaker? I think we got to know him very well from these early days. He said from experience being technical and he himself having a natural affinity to massage, although he didn't know it then until to this day when he is actually a licensed massage therapist. So we get to know him pretty well. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? I would say yes. Did the speaker talk clearly and audible? Yes, we could clearly understand everything he said. Did the speech have a definite opening, body, and conclusion? Yes, in his opening he set up the stage about massage therapy and hinted about his natural ability. Then he go through the different stages, and finally, today when he's a massage therapist. So. Please comment on the speaker's use of notes. There was no use of notes. What could the speaker have done differently that would improve the speech? I think in massaging you have, as he said, he uses hands. He could actually demonstrate a little more probably in his use of his hands, I would think. And he could have, as it's a first speech, but we know he has some experience in speaking. So I would say he could have used this stage a little more. He did have some motion, he did move, but he could have moved also to the other side and addressed the audience. He spent most of his time on this side. Right. What did you like about the presentation? What I liked about his presentation is that it was sincere and factual and could benefit all of us. So that's my evaluation. And back to the Toastmaster. The general evaluator.
We're going to go right into table topics.
Okay, so then I call up the table topics master. All right. So at this point in the meeting, we were going to table topics, and the table topics master is our next person. So please welcome Jean Craig.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home. Table Topics is our time for impromptu speaking. Just to review, we've got 1 to 2 minutes to speak. The green light comes on at 1 minute, the yellow at 1 minute 30 seconds, the red light comes on at 2 minutes, and then you have another 30-second grace period to wrap it up before the hook drags you off the stage by the ankle. What we usually like to do is have a member who doesn't have a role lead off to demonstrate, but then I want to mention also that our guests are very much encouraged to participate also. Tonight our theme of the meeting is mentoring, and the questions that I have and the quotes that I have are related to that topic. So to kick this off, I need a volunteer from a member who is one of our members, doesn't have a role tonight.
That is.
You were the last one speaking.
She's a general, she's a table topics evaluator.
Come on
She's a
up.
table topics evaluator.
Can I do it?
Maybe later.
I'll do it so we can take the time.
Janet's coming, but she's going around that way.
She's going around. Yay, Janet.
I think we've just got 10 minutes tonight, so we've probably got time for 3 people. I've got 5 questions. If you just give me a number 1 through 5, I'll give you
3.
what I've got. 3. Who has been your most important mentor? And what did they help you accomplish? Who's been your most important mentor?
Got it.
What did they help you accomplish?
finally got something. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, I had to think about that. It was brain freeze. I have so many mentors to thank throughout my life. So then I thought, just be still, wait, see what comes. And I didn't want to do my kids. Come on, get over it. So then I got my mom, surprisingly. So bless her heart. She had a very good, wise way of giving us advice. And I didn't like it at the time, but I liked it as I grew up and understood it. Because I wanted the answer from her. I didn't want to hear, oh, you'll know what to do. I trust you. You have the common sense and the brains to handle this. And I'd be like, Mom, I want the answer. I don't want this runaround, So I was very frustrated by it, but I took it in and realized she meant it with love and just was left to deal with it. So that is the best lesson. Go ahead and tackle it yourself and don't lean on your mother because she's not going to be there to live your life for you. So God bless her. That's it.
All right. We have a former member guest who's anxious to come up. I'm going to also let Phil and Ingrid know. Ingrid, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, you're very welcome if you want to volunteer and give it a try. No takers, so it's Miranda. She's taking a video of her
It's
table
live.
topic.
It's live straight to Toastmasters on Twitter. It's Table Topics Live.
Okay. So I've got five topics here. We've already done number 3. Pick another one.
Number 2.
Discuss the importance of clarifying goals and expectations in a mentoring relationship. Discuss the importance of clarifying goals and expectations in a mentoring relationship.
Peoples of all forms of life on Earth and Toastmasters. I set out the other day to go for a long walk. I was leaving everything behind. I had a backpack and a satchel, and I hit Highway 1 and I walked. I didn't tell anyone I was leaving. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know why I was leaving, but I knew I needed to pack up everything that was important to me and start walking down Highway 1. Why? Because then I came home. I got exhausted, I hitchhiked, and went home and slept all day. The importance of knowing why we set out on a journey is one thing. The importance of knowing this is the ultimate goal of your actions, that's one thing. But trusting the void to give to you your ultimate purpose, well, that's something you kind of just discover along the way. I didn't know why I left town. No one told me to. No one said, you'll come back to town and love your life. You'll come back to town and love every person. Why? Because when I was walking away from Fairfield forever, suddenly I had more appreciation for the people who took care of me. I had more fondness to people who might have annoyed me. I had more respect for everything I had left behind than I did, 4 miles ago. No one said, hey, if you pack up your entire life and just start leaving town, you might like your life again. No one told me that, but that's what happened. And so if we set out to attain something, well then we might get that thing, but it'll be that thing that we thought it was here, right? I'm gonna go out and get this thing, and you set your mind to it the whole time, well then you're gonna get that thing. But if you trust to just go, then you get what you actually need. And it's kind of a great surprise and it's a great mystery. You can't plan for it, you can't see it coming, you can't label it, you can't identify it. Why? Because as soon as you label it and identify it, then it is that. But by trusting the void, it'll give you what you need. And so with a mentor, well, I kind of just trust all of us to mentor all of us together. I can't give anyone credit for sending me off down Highway 1 the other night, but because of all of you, I had the courage to pack up my life and go, which in turn gave me the respect for my life that I needed to stay here. Thank you.
She said the magic word before she sat down. Is anybody here old enough to remember the Groucho Marx show?
Oh, sure.
Where the bird would drop down with the word of the day. Or what do you call it, the magic void?
Magic void.
The magic void. Mr. Toastmaster, how much time have we got left? One more? Is that all we've got time for? I think we just had 10 minutes.
It's 8:25.
Yeah.
Looks like we've used our time to me.
Looks like we're over already. So, Mr. General Evaluator, I'm gonna give it back to you.
So at this point in time, the light's on.
Okay.
It's distracting. I feel like I should stop. Red light. At this point, I'd like to call on our table topics evaluator.
That's which qualified.
Ah,
Oh, yeah.
Which one's qualified?
Prepared speech, Dana qualified at 6:35, Janet qualified at 1:35, Miranda went over. About a minute.
okay.
Beta
So-
qualified at 6:35, Janet qualified at 1:35, and Miranda went over by.
So we don't need to vote.
Okay, so Janet qualified.
Janet qualified,
Janet qualified.
That's it.
Beta qualified.
That's table topics.
Okay, table, right.
And at this point then, would you please take your ballots, each person take a ballot and vote for the best?
No,
I only have one.
We have one that qualified.
Did we only do 2 table topics?
We only had 2 speakers
Okay.
and only one of those 2
All right, so
qualified.
in that case, Mr. Timer,
Yes.
would you please give a report of each person and their timers?
So,
I'm sorry.
So this is, it's hard when you're up there. We have
Oh, it's,
table topics evaluator now, right? Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would just call up now our table topics
Oh.
evaluator who will evaluate
Thank
those
you.
2.
okay.
I know, it's just,
All right.
it's hard. Okay, yay!
Okay, so it was me and Miranda, right? Okay. Fellow Toastmasters, what?
He should have done the evaluation for the evaluator, so we didn't have to do that, sorry.
Okay, so we'll let him do that later. I'm gonna evaluate Miranda.
Thank you.
Okay, it was about clarifying expectations and roles in a mentoring relationship. So I said, as far as her posture, appearance, facial expressions, and gestures, very expressive. Good eye contact, good usage of her hands to paint the picture for us. So I thought it was a brilliant choice for the content of trusting the void. Who'd have thunk it? Nobody, but Miranda. Pretty sure about that. I mean, it's way out there, brilliant, in my opinion. So I loved that. And this is what I said here. Only you, Miranda. Anyway, trusting the void, one of our famous concepts that should go down in history. as we mentioned those at the end, right? You know, interesting things we heard. So I love that one. Her voice, tone, variety, enthusiasm, force, etc. I felt that she was brave, honest, sincere, taking a chance, and well executed.
And
Yes.
Janet, do you have a suggestion for
A suggestion?
improvement for her?
Yes,
That's what we
okay,
always
let's
want
see.
to have.
Huh.
Something that she could,
Maybe she could, even though I felt she was fairly centered and right on, maybe take a second and drop in and breathe and remember who she is and fully trust. Okay.
okay, we're done, we're good.
Mr. Timer, which evaluators have qualified?
Janet.
Okay. So, in that case, we'll go right ahead. Could you please now deliver the timer's report for each speaker?
So for Veda's speech, his time was 6 minutes and 35 seconds, so he qualified. And table topics, Janet qualified at 1:35, Miranda went over at 2:50, and Janet just got under the wire here on her evaluation at 2 minutes and 57 seconds. 3 seconds more, we've been over.
Fraser. Is there a Fraser's time?
No, did I do? I must have,
Fraser had to be evaluated.
huh? I didn't,
Timing for Fraser.
oh, I apologize, I didn't
Fraser
know that.
wasn't evaluated.
Huh?
Fraser evaluated.
Oh, I apologize, I didn't do Fraser.
Okay.
I didn't realize.
It's a hard job, timer's a hard job. It's a very hard job.
I think you qualified though.
I would say so.
Give it thumbs up.
So that means,
In that case, we could
Thank you,
vote.
Mr. Timer. So we can vote?
If we had 2 evaluators who qualified, we can't vote.
yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and vote.
Yeah.
For the best evaluator,
Someone's putting a ribbon in there.
And then we're gonna
all right, so then our next speaker will be Art Atkinson, who is our grammarian this evening. And he will give a 2-minute report, up to 2 minutes.
Art.
Right behind
So in my role as grammarian tonight, some particularly versatile individual stood in my place and explained the role early on in the meeting and put up the word of the evening on the whiteboard in the back. Word of the evening was versatile, and I have it on good authority that it was not used before I got here, and I didn't hear it being used once I was here. However, several people demonstrated some versatility. For example, Janet not only gave a table topic speech, but evaluated table topics. She used a colorful phrase that in most cases would be jargon, but actually worked perfectly when she recommended to Miranda that she take some time and, as she put it, drop in, go into her heart, go into herself, and organize the talk. Miranda used a colorful phrase several times, that being listen to the voice, and by implication the voice was the mentor, but she never actually explicitly said that. So in the short time that I've been here, I've seen a good deal of versatility demonstrated. I didn't hear any bad grammar.
Hmm.
So I'm pleased to report that. And that's my report for the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. Oh, the schedule. Our next speaker is the counter, Emery Styron.
Jean was clean. Fraser, 3 uhs, 2 ums, 1 so, 2 ands, and 3 xeroxes. Veda, 3 uhs. Peter clean, Dan clean, Janet, 4 uhs, 1 you know, 5 so's, and 1 and. Miranda, 1 you know, 1 so, 1 and. D, 2 uhs, 1 and. Emery was perfect.
Our counter is completely unbiased in evaluations.
He's versatile that way.
Yes, yes, he is. And so this is the part for which you've all been waiting, the joke section of the meeting.
Oh, great.
And so I have several one-liners, as it were, for your amusement. There's a man who said, "I'm a big fan of whiteboards. I find them quite remarkable." This is a riddle. Why was King Arthur's army too tired to fight? And the answer is, it had too many sleepless nights.
Oh, so funny.
And then did you hear the one about the semicolon that broke the law? He was given 2 consecutive sentences.
Oh.
And moving right along, it's now my task to evaluate the evaluators. And by my count, we have 2 evaluators tonight. The first was Fraser, the prepared speeches evaluator. And Fraser, you went through the points in the manual and spoke each one out to the speaker. You said what you liked about the speech, and you found, of course, something that you thought could be improved. I liked the way that I did like the way that you spoke easily and with a good flow of speech, and it just continued smoothly and made the speech very good because of that. If I had to think of something that could be better, I guess it's just to keep on doing what you've been doing to, get that facility with speaking. Janet. Your speaking was straightforward, covered the ground, and was honest, insightful, and made me think a little bit about the things that each speaker had done as well. I think that overall, I don't have anything bad to say about, or I should say, any suggestions to make. I have to keep the right spin on this. Any suggestions to make? think you can all tell I haven't been a general evaluator much, but we'll work on it. So, thank you for your evaluations, and I look forward personally to hearing more of them. And now we're coming to a special section of the meeting where we will hear from our president, interim president, Jean Symington Craig. Please welcome
Okay. Well, fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, this is really quasi talking in a speech, but not really, and it's also club business, but it's really important club business. So I'm going to just talk to you about this. We have some exercise that we're going to do. In fact, Emery, would you be so kind as to hand these out for people? Tonight's business is we are starting our selection process for our officers for the upcoming year, 2018, 2019. At the end of the month, we hope to have a list of people who are going to be our officers who are stepping up, and we'll be replacing the officers that we have here tonight and that we've had all year long. Our current officers, I'd like, and before you start reading into that tiny print, don't worry about it yet, just hang on to it. But I'd like our current officers, the ones that we have here, to stand, and let's just give them a round of applause. Dan has been our treasurer, Fraser has been our sergeant at arms, Emery has been our vice president of education. Also serving this year has been Dennis Gomez, our president, who has gotten just really tied up with work. Also our vice president of membership and PR, Will Burns, who's in the middle of the really rapids of an event that his company puts on every year, so he's very, very busy there. Secretary, I think, was that Peter? Yes, we had Peter step in for that as well. So then we really appreciate officers, and in your competent communicator manuals, if you have those, there are descriptions of officers, what officers do in general in Toastmasters. I'm going to give a little bit of a kind of run through quickly of what officers do, and then I'm going to give you some responses that people have as to when it's time to do this, to change our officers, and give you, and we're going to have a little exercise. So first off, let's start at Sergeant at Arms. Sergeant at Arms, I think Fraser gave a presentation on this earlier. It's the most important job in the club. And I'm going to give both what the officer does inside the club and then outside the club. So in the meeting. So in the meeting, Fraser is the one who is responsible, the Sergeant at Arms is responsible for setting up the room and making sure everything is in order so that we have a comfortable, clean, clear, efficient meeting space. That's his primary goal. He's also making sure that our stock is supplied. So he makes sure we have our ribbons and all of our forms are kept in place so that we really have a smooth ship. And that's very important. Fraser, is there anything else that I've missed on that? Good? Okay, good. So moving along to our treasurer. Our treasurer is the person who handles our bank account. We have a bank account at Iowa State. He takes in new membership applications with the money. Anytime there's a money element, you kind of are thinking about our treasurer. So he takes in that money, he puts in the new member, he sends the money to Toastmasters International. It's all done pretty smoothly with debit card and online like that. He also gives the officers a monthly update on what the club finances are. Okay, so we're a nonprofit and we don't really have that much money, but we do like the money that we have, so we want to know what that is. So Dan takes care of that for us. I say Dan, the treasurer. Okay. And we have a secretary. Dan, is there anything else that I'm missing?
Budgeting for special events, but you covered most of it.
Okay, good. Our secretary is the person who really at our club meeting, our executive meeting, comes, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, comes and takes notes of what the decisions are and keeps a record of those so that we can always look and decide, what was that we decided, and then our secretary has that. The secretary also, at the end of the year, puts in the new officers on the Toastmaster website. I usually just get involved with that a little bit, but that's an important job. So the Toastmasters, the secretary for the club is really pretty much limited to our executive meetings. It's an important function. Then we move up to our vice president of PR, and that's just as it says. It's the person who, in this club, is handling our public relations to the extent of, we have a Facebook page. We want that to be looking good. We have, if we're having a special event, the VP of PR is going to be involved with getting the word out about what's going on. We're always looking for people that have that ability to get the word out, because that's what we want, and that's how we grow and keep our numbers. Vice President of Membership is a person who is a guest that wants to become a member, is going to see the Vice President of Membership. The Vice President of Membership helps them fill out the application, collects the money, gives it to the treasurer. We also have our Vice President of Membership handle our mentor club, since tonight is our theme, is mentoring. We do have, it's a little bit non-defined, but the idea is that when members join, they get a mentor that's assigned to them to help them during the first, couple of projects, and just help that way. I think that's good. And then the Vice President of Education, Emery has been doing that job. That's probably the most, after the Sergeant at Arms, it's probably the most important job. And that is the person who creates our agenda every week, who Emery has been really good about getting us all using Easy Speak, having us sign in. It's a commitment. It can be done, as Emery says, kind of at a distance. If a person is not going to, if Emery's not going to be able to be at the meeting, he sends us a PDF of the schedule, and one of the other officers copies it and brings it. But that is an ongoing role. Emery also just schedules people into speeches and schedules roles. So it's kind of a detail-oriented position, but something that's really important for the club. Emery, is there anything I'm leaving out?
You might mention that we need a couple of people to speak the next 2 weeks.
Always, yes. And that's another thing he does, is he's encouraging people to sign up for speeches. And it sounds like, Emery, that's the method you'd like us to do that. So we need to, we'll get to there, but we need to have some speeches done. So wherever you are in your manuals, time to step up and keep our Vice President of Education happy. We did have some discussion, and we've decided, because Emery is leaving, June 1st or so, he's gone, he's moving to Iowa City. So we have selected, and thank you, Janet, for volunteering. We went ahead, because Peter had some skills that we thought might be useful. So Peter, in fact, is training right now with Emery to be our Vice President of Education, both for the month when Emery's gone, but we're giving him some training with Emery before Emery goes, and then on for our next year. So that is a really good one. Let's give him a round of applause right now. Okay. And then the president is like the chief executive officer, and I can speak from experience. It's really rewarding to be the president. The president is responsible for helping the club meet district, area, division, district goals in terms of our performance. The president oversees the executive committee that meets once a month. Let me just mention that because I'm mentioning that several times. Executive committee is the officers. We get together, we meet over there in the Hy-Vee restaurant. So you're welcome to get some food, come on over, and we do that once a month. The first Tuesday of the month, we get here at 6:45. We meet before the meeting, so it's all, compact for people. It's actually a lot of fun, because we're just, like, you get to know your fellow officers a lot better, and we plan things. We plot things for the members. Yeah, we plot things for the members, like, let's do this to them. Yeah. Okay, but that's the executive team. And the president is outside of the meeting. Of course, at the meeting, I'm presiding over, waving the baton and, violin section and all that. But outside the meeting, the executive committee and just being in touch with other officers in the district to help us achieve our goals is pretty much what the president does. There's a lot of delegation with the president. Is there anything else that I do? Dan, you get it. You see.
That's all you do.
That's all I do. Okay, Dan sees it. All right, so that's a quick overview of the officers. Now, when you became a member, there was the Toastmaster pledge, and one of the items in the pledge is to serve as an officer when called upon. And so this is the point where we use that, because we all have to shift in and out so that people are not getting burned out. So I'm just putting out to you, so it's that time. We're going to be asking you to become officers. And here's some responses that you could give. Well, I don't know what to do. Okay, so that's not a problem. First of all, that's usually the case. You've never done this before, and there's a learning curve. So how do you get that? Well, first of all, there are manuals for the positions, so you get clear on what you're supposed to do. I mean, just like anything. Follow that. During June, we have an overlap, and we have the incoming officer work with the outgoing officer, and of course the outgoing officer is going to still be around most of the time. And so you have that handoff of the baton is what I like to think of it. There's also training twice a year that the divisions put on throughout the district, and you go up there. So that's one in about, I don't know, July, August, and there you do a road trip with your fellow officers, and you go up and you learn how to be an officer, how to do your position. And they always have cool stuff. They have extra talks, and you meet other Toastmasters, and you start to get a bigger vision of what Toastmasters is. So that's done like July, August, and then usually December, January is the second round. So the second round is, okay, you've been doing it for 4 or 5 months now, now we're going to come back in and we're going to have some different things. So that's an obligation. But that's how you learn. So you have manuals, you have your local officers, past and present, and then you also have training around the district. Another response you could have is, I don't have time. Okay, nobody has time these days. So that does not disqualify you, because nobody has time. So let me give some points about that. The duties are pretty straightforward, and we really try to keep it so that people can do them. I mean, it's not that you have to be retired to be an officer. Okay, so you just do it, and we make it so that it works. Compact. There is the monthly executive meeting, which I've talked about. That's a time requirement. There's the training twice yearly. That's a time requirement. And then in between meetings, there may be some emails that officers exchange just to kind of work some things out in between, because we only have an executive meeting once a month. So we may need to work some things out. So your attention is for that. But, those are things that you do anyway with your book club or, whatever you're doing. So I think it's good, and so you just make it fit. Okay? When I became president, I'd only been a Toastmaster for less than a year. I had no idea. I was horrified that they asked me to be president. So I don't know what to do. And also I was in the middle of a new job and I had all this other stuff and I just thought that, that's crazy. But it worked, and it actually, work expands to fill your time, and if you don't have any time, you get really efficient. So if you want something done really well, give it to somebody who's really busy. That's often the case. But you have to pay attention. You can't just space it out. You have to pay attention, but you'll really hug the rails when you're already busy. And you'll also get more efficient as you do it, so we just don't worry about that. Now here's one final response that often comes up. Okay, so I'm not insulting anybody, but can't somebody else do it? Okay, so that's where we say, okay, so stop whining. Okay, that's where we do that. Because it really, the best way Toastmasters works is that we have many hands make light work. Because we don't want anyone to get burnt out. And if there's too few people, then it starts to be not fun for those people. So that's why we shift it up. And so you agree to do it. So that's part of your Toastmasters. That's part of your Toastmasters job. So I'm going to say there's two things. There's kind of the duty side of things, and then there's the benefit side of things. So the duty side I've kind of covered. That you said you would do it when you became a Toastmaster. We don't want anyone to burn out, and we all like each other, and that wouldn't be fair. So it's kind of your duty to help run things. You can't just take, you got to give back, and you'll be asked to do it probably every couple of years, because it's just, it depends on how big the club is and like that, but that's the way it works. Now I'm going to flip over to the benefit side, which is, yay, that's the cookies side of things. I don't know if you get a cookie, anything is doable. Cookies are the best. So when you're an officer, you do learn how to be interactive with another group of people. I mean, Toastmasters is very versatile and heterogeneous, and so you have to learn how to work with people that you may not otherwise see. So there's some team building, interactive team building that you do. It's also fulfilling, and I'm reading this here. Dee is flashing lights at me.
I don't know, I just saw the directions here.
Well, just,
Oh, you timed you.
you're like into the chartreuse, I don't know what that means. Okay, so,
I was just playing.
That's a 16, 17, and 18.
okay,
I was
You timed
playing with it.
yeah. So it's very fulfilling to be an officer. And I tell you, I talk a lot about what Toastmasters does in terms of structuring something deep in the physiology that makes you stand taller. There's a backbone factor. And when you are an officer of this club, and this club has accomplished quite a bit, see the ribbons, you just start to carry yourself differently, and you have self-confidence. And it's self-confidence both in Toastmasters, but it's also transferable to other things that you're doing. Self-confidence is incredible, and it just grows naturally when you become an officer here. Prana, you were an officer.
I was vice president membership for 1 year, and I definitely would agree that, what do you want me to tell you?
Well, how did your backbone feel?
Well, I definitely grew an inch.
Okay, so, he would have been just a normal size,
Yeah.
but look what happened.
I got big, I got 6'5".
Yeah, yeah.
And I also felt like I was walking around Hy-Vee, and I felt like people, I could command people to join the club.
Yes, yes. You sort of get this enthusiasm, and you were a good person. You brought people. You brought
I was the
people
vice president
in.
of membership.
Okay.
I would literally just walk. I was a walking market.
Okay.
I was a walking whiteboard.
Yes.
People would just.
So,
had to face you.
because something starts to get structured. And Art, did you want to say something?
Yeah, one thing I haven't mentioned is, my experience was, in the years that I was an officer, I became very good friends with provided an avenue for becoming a much closer friend of the other club members who were officers along with me
Yes,
than I would have had I just attended meetings
yes.
and seen them speak.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
groups of officers are solving problems and making decisions together.
Right. So the friendship and the socialization, I alluded to that a little bit. When you take a road trip with people and you come back, it's different. You're looking at them a little differently, like, wasn't that fun? And then when you have your meetings and stuff and you're going, okay, so now what are we gonna, it's like you build something with those people. I mean, you and I have been on officer panels for a number of times, Art, and I mean, I could go to Art with anything. So, anyway, so that's good, socialization. So those are the benefits of being an officer. You can't really get it unless you try it, but we also need you. So those are the two sides of the thing. All I'm going to say is when I finished my first year, I told you I was horrified that they asked me to be president, and I just thought, whoa, this is like, this is going to be bad. But by the end of the year, I did not want to leave. I felt like I wanted to do what those guys are doing these days in the world. They just decide they're going to do, get rid of term limits, and now I'm the monarch, and couldn't do that. But so that was my experience. I really, really enjoyed it. So I think what we're going to do now, so this is what we do. We do it this way every year. So you've got those little pieces of paper. And now you can go ahead and take a look at them. The descriptions of each role is probably pretty much close to what I said. So you can just kind of skim it. And what I want you to do is two things, is you put your name in the upper right-hand corner. And then I want you to pick, say, 1, 2, or 3 positions that you would consider taking for the club, and label your first choice number 1, and your second choice number 2, and your third choice number 3. And what's going to be happening?
VP of Education's already taken.
The VP of Education is now, because we had to get something going, and so kudos to you for volunteering. So hold that thought.
It's not a vote thing,
This is not a vote thing, so yeah, good, so let me
Okay.
explain this. Okay, so just write prana, everybody write prana at the top and then put it, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no,
This is like
forget that, so here we go.
Aspects of the beta.
Yeah, here we go. What's gonna happen is, you need to give me your slip, maybe we just put it, up here at the end of the meeting, and then, there's a small committee that will come up with a slate and look at combining both what are your interests and then what would be good for the club in our opinion. Okay, and then the next week, now this is really for members.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
If guests have a strong feeling already, you can put it in.
Maybe we could become a member tonight.
Yeah, maybe you could. But so we'll come back, let's see, next week, hopefully we'll have it by next week. So next week is the 22nd, so we'll present the slate. And then the following week, we can, and if anyone has any shifts and adjustments like that, we can deal with that. And then the following week, we'll vote. And we often just accept the vote, but we could have an energetic campaign from the far left that suddenly comes roaring in and wants to put in somebody, and that would be exciting. Okay, all right. Are there any questions, officers? Is there anything I left out in terms of discussion here? You're all looking pretty gobsmacked, so that's okay. I think what I'll do is, so again, tonight I would need to have those. I know it's short notice, but just go with the best that you can. And then I think what we'll do is we'll hand this back over to our Toastmaster, and let him go ahead and finish us out. Yay, okay, so let's see. Just before we do that, I just want to make sure I get the paper. So where would be a good place to put it? Right there next to this, this right here? How would we put it right here? Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you,
Okay,
Jean.
all right, that's it.
Okay, we are now down to the fun awards portion of the meeting. We did vote, did we not?
Looking for evaluators.
Evaluator, all right, let's have a drum roll. Enthusiastic drum roll for the best evaluator, Janet. Congratulations. And let's see, we didn't vote on best table topics, we didn't vote on best speaker. And we do have a ribbon for Veda.
He left.
He left, and well, it was the wrong ribbon anyway, so.
Icebreaker.
We could give him an icebreaker ribbon later on. Okay, that concludes the awards section of our meeting. Since I have the floor and we're not quite out of time, we do need speakers for next week. Janet? All right, and I think Emery needs to speak one time before I leave. I don't have to speak next week, but Dee, did you want to be on next week too?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got two, that's good.
Speech, are these,
Your next speech in the manual,
oh, my next speech, okay, all right.
how many have you given? Two?
Two,
Yeah, so you're ready for number 3, and
that's a 5-minute speech.
I think so, 5 to 7, yeah.
5 to 7.
Okay, we'll put you on the agenda, Peter and I. So, that's good. I'll call back the president, and see if she has any closing comments.
Okay, here we go.
Surely she said everything she could
Surely,
have to
possibly.
say.
All right. Well, I'd like to actually hear from our two guests, just outside perspective on something you might have liked in the meeting. So, start with you.
Yes, there he is.
Overall, I liked the speeches, and I liked the flow. I like the organization. I think this is an exceptional organization, and I think it has the ability to really help people to speak pucker.
Great, well, thank you for coming.
Job better.
Woo! Okay, and Ingrid.
Well, I like the speeches as well, and I really like that everybody feels comfortable and they can express themselves. And I really admire that. I really now thinking to join the club, but I have to wait. Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so for those of you that came in a little bit later, we are having a contest from now through the end of the June, which is the end of the Toastmaster year. Janet strongly encouraged this. She brought it up twice. So we're going with it, and Janet, do you want to explain it?
Oh, well, we're gonna just see who brings the most guests by the end of June, and they will win a prize of unknown origin.
That's right, that's right.
A prize
So
from the
Janet, we decided we would start tonight. So Janet is now ahead. She has, now, I don't know, should we do Fraser's? Did you bring him or is he coming on his own now?
Oh,
I don't
Fraser
know.
qualifies for a prize.
The contest just started, sorry.
Yeah, contest.
He's a guest.
And this is a good
I
thing.
I
This is
think Fraser and Janet are neck and neck.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, so we'll give Phil to Fraser. But here's the thing, I think we need to have a rule on if someone is a repeat guest. So
Yeah.
what do we want to do with that?
Can't count repeats.
I kind of
They have
don't
to
think
join.
we should. No, we'll go,
50%.
Yeah, does it have like a, is there like a
You get an
carbon
extra
half-life?
something
You
if
should
they
get
join.
something, because to encourage them to come back is also
So like,
valuable.
it's
Yes.
a carbon half-life,
It's
so
not
like a
just-
half guess the next time, a quarter guess the third time.
Eventually, you're just worth like 0.0000001.
all right.
You should get
Okay,
more
so
work
this
done.
is the thing, but we have to decide. So do we want to count? I don't think we should get into logarithms and, algorithms and all of that. Because Janet's keeping track and that's going to be too complicated.
Like a valedictorian score.
So do we want to count repeats? I think Dan made a case.
50%, yes, I think.
The thing is, wait a minute.
Be a bonus if they actually join.
Okay, here's what we'll do. Janet, will you keep track of new guests? And then you can keep you could do a repeat one. Because honestly, what we need are new guests. We need new guests coming in.
Exposure.
Yeah, so I think the contest is gonna be new guests, and we'll just see if we need to do something with repeat guests. So we'll
goal-
keep
Right,
track.
you could always do
Gee.
honorable mention for.
Yeah.
Gee, our goal is to have a bigger room.
Yeah, our goal is to be, in the ice cream aisle, literally. Yeah, because then we can eat. Okay,
There are
so,
other places we could meet.
so that's the point,
Right.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from you after, because we've been over a lot of places. So that is the contest that we have. Any questions?
Oh, just more chairs.
And Janet, how did you invite Ingrid?
I just told her about it.
So do a role play. I
Yeah.
would like to see the words you used.
So Ingrid, I'm in Toastmasters. It's really fun. Think you'd like to try it? Come with me sometime? Yes. Okay, cool.
How simple is that?
You are.
I'm in Toastmasters. What did you say?
Really fun.
It's really fun. I'm enjoying it. Would you like to come with me sometimes?
And she added that I'm speaking tonight.
And if you are, that is a double whammy, because then you
That
can.
was when I first invited you, and you couldn't come to hear my fabulous speech.
Okay.
It worked the next time, see, because you
Yeah.
went back.
So that's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Please come hear me tonight. I'm speaking. Okay, so that's what it is. Game on, people. This is it. Game on. Cool prize. All right. Anything else that we need to talk about? Okay, the Pathways is now open for business.
I got on.
Okay,
I'm in it.
go, if you're a member, go on in there and good, you took the self-assessment. Was it interesting?
Yeah,
Okay. And now did you pick your path?
I did, and I'm not sure if I did it right, because there was the 3 choices, and I thought after I answered the questions, they picked leadership for me,
Uh-huh.
but then I realized I wasn't sure. Maybe I just picked that without knowing. So now I'll never know. Someone will have to, do they
You could call them.
give you their recommendation?
They do.
After the test? I think they recommended leadership.
Yeah, they did.
I was like, all right.
That's the
Based on
whole
the
idea. That's the whole idea, they put it in their little algorithm and then pop out and they say this is, and you don't have to take that, but that's what they're saying.
It's
It looks like.
fun.
Yeah.
It makes you think.
Yes.
So the question arises, if we're partway through the existing manual, then is it better to just give it up and go on to Pathways? Or
You can, it's completely up to you. So you can work on both traditional and Pathways. And if you have been a member, either past or current, as of, by May 2nd, you have 2 years till, I think it's July 1st, 2020. 2 years to do whatever you want to do, achieve whatever designations you want in the traditional path. So my feeling is I'm going to finish up and get some more stuff. But I also want to check out the Pathways, too. If someone was just starting, I would probably say go Pathways.
Yeah, I want to jump ship.
Yeah.
Because I've only done 2 speeches, so
Yeah.
big deal.
That's fine.
I could do those again, or I could enter in what I've done, or what.
Yeah. You can have a CC if you want around, and if you want to do a speech somewhere, and you want someone to evaluate you, you know, on smart meters or something like that. Okay, so we're good? Thank you for that. All right, without any further ado, meeting is adjourned.